Hello again. I'm Father Kyle,
And
and I'm
I'm
here,
Deacon Patrick.
and we're here to discuss our next topic for our next installment here. And the topic is the domestic church infusing prayer into daily life. So, in the last episode, Deacon Patrick was talking about the fact that so many people are together as a family right now in quarantine. I'm here in the rectory by myself, so kind of living that solitary life. But many people, or probably most people right now, are with at least one other person or a couple other people. I know my sister, for instance, is quarantined up in Castle Rock with my brother-in-law and her 3 kids. And for many people, this creates kind of a unique opportunity to grow in faith as a family. So, Deacon Patrick, you're not by yourself, correct? You're with your family
Correct.
or your wife.
I have my much better half and our 4 children. And interestingly for us, this hasn't been much of a shift because we homeschool, and so we're actually in a position where the things that have shifted are fairly minor. And having to adjust in a lot of senses to the whole social distancing thing, that's life with brain injury. So one of the things that we found really helpful was the discipline in family life that is very rigid in, say, if you were to visit a monastery, there's very specific rote times that you pray, and that doesn't always mesh well with family life. But what we found works well for us is we think about prayer as bookends to the day or to what we're doing, both of those. So we bookend the day with prayer at the beginning when we wake up and the end when we go to sleep. And for what prayers work for different families, bump and go method works great to figure out, well, do we wake up and do we just pray the Angelus? Once we're ready and hungry for more, do we add the Rosary, or do we shift that to being Liturgy of the Hours Vespers? Is there a point when we want to add daily Gospel? And reading a commentary for that Gospel. We've found that the Navarre Bible and its commentary is excellent. And we've also found the Catena Aria, which was compiled by St. Thomas Aquinas, if my brain is working properly. Fantastic for opening up the Gospels. And then we pray the Angelus at noon, and then in the evening, this is all in addition to meal prayers, and then in the evening we pray the Rosary, which for our little kids is their bedtime, so they fall asleep during the Rosary. And then there's time for us adult parents and adult children to be together before bed. And so that's the bookends of our day. And then the different activities, there's prayer before school and after school, and then the different lessons along the way, as well as the meals have their own bookends. So that's what we've found, because meals often shift when they happen, depending on family schedule. So the rhythm, the discipline of them is that, okay, it's mealtime, so we're praying bookend, meal, bookend. But when it happens is flexible, which really meshes well, at least for us, in family life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I think having kind of those patterns, it does help to have some structure, like you're saying, and it's a flexible structure, but I think it's good to have kind of the goals that you want to achieve, and you kind of know what they are, and everybody's working together. You kind of accommodating different prayer practices, different likes and dislikes of different family members. that sounds like a really good way to do it for sure.
Anything that you're hearing from as you're working with your college students and their families as far as what their challenges and struggles are, or with what prayer life looks like now?
Yeah, I think college students have kind of some unique challenges because most of my students were used to living either with other college students or they were living alone. And now they're back home with mom and dad and siblings. And it sounds kind of funny, but one practical challenge we've had is we have a Bible study that we've had for many, many years on Thursday nights, and we're still continuing to do that. But one of the unique challenges, it's kind of funny, is a lot of the college students are having a hard time calling into the Bible study because their parents want them to eat dinner together, which is a good problem to have. Obviously, it's great when families eat together. But it's funny because college students don't eat dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whereas when they're home with mom and dad, that's like prime time for some of our Bible studies and things. And so we're finding kind of some of those funny challenges, of the rhythm of family life matching up with the rhythm of college life. And so we're trying to kind of adjust to that. I think I know some of my students have had a kind of a hard time adjusting their calendar, their body clock, back to kind of a normal rhythm of family life, because that's not their usual schedule. They're not used to that. So yeah.
And that brings up a whole nother aspect that I suspect we're going to be living with as a society, and as we shepherd each other through this, is even if this ended tomorrow, the economy is not going to recover right away. We flattened the curve, but how many curves did we flatten? We also flattened the economy, and it's also a trench. How long does that trench get dug before it starts to climb back up? And that brings about, by necessity, multi-generational living. And you go back generations, homes were designed for multi-generational living. That isn't the case anymore. Homes don't have suites. Mm-hmm. They're not designed for this. And so there becomes a prayer of, how do you as a family live together? And there's an awful lot of friction that can happen. And this will be our preview for the next two topics, which will be addressing reconciliation. And how do we do reconciliation when we can't get to the church? And because we've been clearly told you can't do reconciliation through technology, which makes all the sense in the world. But then there's also the reconciliation of, I've wronged you, and I suddenly realize it, and now I need to make things right with you. The interpersonal reconciliation. So we'll get into those. Tune in next week when we find out what happens next. Thank you for watching. I'm Deacon Patrick.
And I'm Father Kyle.
May God startle you with joy.